Hi everyone, my name's Baillie. I write music under the name Kayesem and I release it under my own label, Spirit Level Studios, which I've also turned into a YouTube channel. Hi, welcome. Just gonna try and explain everything as concisely as possible and keep it to the point. Basically, starting this fundraiser to raise money to be able to finish an album of music, which I would like to release this year. Basically, I have released 3 before in the past, and the last one came out in 2015. Ideally, I like to put one out every 2 years, but life has got in the way. I've gotten my own way, and time has gone by. So it's been 7 years, coming up on 8 years now, and I'm definitely due to put out another release. And it feels right for me to be doing this right now. So I'm trusting that it's all going to work out well, and this is just one option of many which I've decided to go ahead with. Not least of which, for reasons why, is just to practice having a sense of self-worth and value in myself, which haven't had a lot of practice at in the past, but getting better at it as time goes on. So thank you for showing some interest in this. I'd like to say hi to everyone, but you know who you are. I'll try to give you basically a picture of where I'm up to. I was working for about 6 months last year, and went out for New Year's and had a bit of a life-changing experience, and it was really beneficial for me. And ever since then, I think I felt like I've had this like a wind behind me, like I'm sort of I have more energy, and I feel like I'm focused on what's most meaningful for me, and therefore there's a strong drive to just go about and do things in that manner. So I was working, I went away for New Year's, I came back. It's a long story, but basically I wasn't getting treated well at work, neither were the other boys there, and despite my best efforts, I couldn't change anything. So after waiting for a couple of weeks to see if anything would change, and it was pretty obvious nothing was going to change, and so on and so forth, I basically quit my job, got another job, did that for a little bit, and the guy who had assured me there was plenty of work available sort of just ghosted and picked up a girl to work with, and went on his merry way. Fair enough, it is what it is. And so I started working with another guy, one of his friends who was starting up a new business, and I did a couple of days for him, and it turned out we were just morally and ethically not on the same page. So I don't want to name names or trash talk anyone here. I just want to explain my position. So basically I quit 3 jobs in the space of a couple of weeks early this year in January in 2023. And since then I've been just kind of winging it and trying to, catch up on living. I feel like when I'm working, I'm just surviving and spending all my best energy on work, and like I enjoy what I do and I don't mind that, but at the same time, even just doing 3 days a week, I'm left very exhausted and with very little energy to do any creative work, which is fine up until a point, but then if you let it go on, then your whole life can flash before your eyes, and next thing you know, it's all over. So it's been wonderful for me to embrace a new mindset and a new way of looking at life, and a new way of just living and feeling like I'm making the most out of every day. I have not been lazy or procrastinating or sitting around. I've been very active and busy every single day. I think I've had one rest day in the past 3 months. And I'm a bit tired, but overall I'm doing very well. There's definitely a lot going on, and there's a lot to look forward to. So I've been, to get by and to pay rent and so on, I've been just selling off old car parts and audio gear and whatnot that I've had laying around the house that I haven't been using, or that I've changed my mind about, or you get the idea. And it's been working out really well. I'll have enough money to get by for a week or so, and then I'll sell something, and that'll give me enough money to get by for another week or two. And then as I clear things out, it makes way for new things. But part of what I struggle with is it's what's known as a hoarding disorder. My father has it too, but to a much more advanced degree than I do. And so basically what that means is, since I was about 15, 16 years old, I started, basically I would collect material objects, but I wouldn't ever clear out or get rid of them. So I just kept accumulating things over years, and made life very difficult for myself in terms of moving house and all this. So that's been dragging me down for a long time. I feel like the more stuff you have and the messier it is, the more it just clogs up your mind, and it makes it difficult to think clearly. So among other things, I mean, it makes it awkward to have guests around, and it's a big kettle of fish, that one. So can of worms, perhaps. The point being, I'm working on it and finally taking measures to, I mean, years ago I stopped, as much as I could, I stopped accumulating anything that wasn't necessary. And now I'm clearing out things that got no use for, and it actually feels very good. It's very freeing. I've made big progress, but at the same time it's can be a little bit overwhelming at times, because just the amount of stuff to go through, and dealing with selling things and all that entails. It's quite a big process. So what I've done is, up until this point, I've managed to get myself out of Melbourne and go and visit Tassie, which is something I wanted to do for a long time. I went there for 2 weeks with the intention of starting a new album, which I did, and I said I would have been happy if I could finish 2 or 3 tracks, and I worked my ass off and I did that. I've got 3 tracks, the first 3 tracks of the album ready to go. The reason I ended up in Tassie in the first place is because I was at a friend's house and experienced a vision of like a clear path lighting up and calling me to go there. So I trusted that and acted on that, and that's the name of the album. It's called Clear Path, and I'll show you an image of the cover, which is a photograph which I took while I was there, which actually aligned with the vision that I had before I went there. So that gives you some sense of the degree to which this is meaningful for me. It felt wonderful to be in the studio again and have no distractions, and to be out in a really beautiful location. And I feel like the environment that I'm in helps tremendously with the creative process, and also just, again, being free of distractions and the usual mess and clutter of my daily existence here in Melbourne. So when I got back, I fell behind a little bit in rent until I could sell some more things, and after I did that, I caught up with all my rent, and I've paid until the 10th of April, so I've got about 9 days left in this house before I move out. In the meantime, I'm just organising and sorting things and living my life. I'm about to go away to visit my father for about a week, and then come back, and I'll clean up the last of what's remaining in the house and go from there. So the idea has been to convert my car into something that's livable and just live in the car for a while and travel around and go camping and just hang out and take it easy out in nature, because that's what I really enjoy doing. Although it has been summer and it's shifting over to winter, so part of that idea has been to visit my father and hang out with him some more, and he's already further north in Victoria, so from there I could possibly go even further north and spend the winter a bit closer to the equator and make life a little bit less dramatic for myself. So I was for a little while thinking of, because I'm under so much pressure right now, to try and use some of this fundraiser to buy myself extra time to see me up until June of this year, just because of, after packing up my studio and taking it away and then bringing it back and setting it all up again, I actually set it up really nice, and I've never really had the studio set up in this place as nice as it is now, and it's very well, it hurts a bit to, like, just when you get it dialed in and really nice, it's to then have to move out and not be able to use it anymore, you know what I mean? So the idea is to be able to have a mobile studio set up and to write outdoors and not have to deal with soundproofing and bass traps and all that kind of deal. It's very beneficial for the audio quality and for my ears and for my peace of mind and all that. It's definitely possible, and I've been taking steps towards being able to do that. So for a little while I was thinking, if I could get some extra time here, I could record more podcasts, I could write more music, I could get a fair bit done. But then at the end of that, what have I got to show for it? I've just spent money on rent when I could have actually spent it on useful things for my car that are kind of necessary at this point to be able to live in it with any level of comfort and stability. So rather than requesting the money to go towards rent, I think investing it into my car is the wiser option. So what I'll do is just give you a breakdown of all the expenses, which will give you an understanding of why the target amount is where it is. And towards the end, I'll just run through some questions and answers. So yeah, after I'll just mention that after leaving those 3 jobs, I was considering starting my own business doing massage. And then after that, I gave it some thought and decided, no, Reiki, I'd like to get into that. And then after that, I sort of went, what's the highest, most meaningful, most amazing, awesome thing that I could think of that I could do? What's the absolute top of what I want to do? And that is music. It's scary, but it's a good kind of fear, because you're onto something that it's challenging on every level, and but I love it more than anything, and I love to share music as well. And I think that's part of what I'm being called to do now, is to take my music out into the world and finally share it with people, because that's what it was intended for, and it has been shared online. The thing is, I just haven't been there for it, and I haven't actually had the joy and the experience of doing it myself in recent years anyway. And I mean, New Year's Eve is part of what changed all that for me. I got to play the last album that I talked about. I played the whole thing in full, Soldiers of Paradise, which was released in 2015. No one had ever heard that before, including me, on a big sound system outdoors, and that's what it was designed for. And I got a lot of really good feedback from that, and it was very well received, and that just really brought my confidence up to a level where it's never been before. I've never had that confidence is a good word. That's basically what it is. I've never had that come completely online before, and now that it is online, I feel like it's my duty to honor that as best I can and do whatever I can to help this album come through, this new one, because it really it's sort of torture to have creative talent and to not be able to make use of it and express that. It's writing music is part of what heals me, and I feel like I've got a lot a lot to contribute at the moment for not only my own healing but for those around me who are open and receptive. So to buy more rent here in the current context, basically I've been living here with two housemates for the past year, and they moved out recently, and so all the rent's fallen on me, and that's more than I can afford, even with working in a full-time job sort of thing. Is too much. It gets complicated, but I won't bother going into it except to say that I've made up my mind and I'm moving out. And yeah, I've got about a week and a half left here, and then just going to be winging it and making the most of it, making the best of it, and really just living well, like sleeping in my car. It's the most comfortable, restful, greatest sleep that I have in any location. So please don't feel sorry for me or feel pity or sympathy, because that's not what I'm looking for. I don't consider it to be full on the streets homeless. I consider it to be a very conscious choice and decision on my part that is just what I want to do right now. So rather than sink $3,500 into rent just to buy a little bit of time, and not being in the best location for, it's not that conducive for music. It's quite noisy environment, and there's a train line here and the scout hall next door and the cafe next door, and there's a lot going on, and it's not real close to nature, and so on and so forth. So ideally, this album will continue to be written in the most natural settings possible. And to that end, I'd like to, instead of requesting $3,500 for rent, to request that to go towards just some bare essentials for the whole living in the car situation. So at the top of those lists are food. I spend about $20 a day at a minimum, so $20 a day for 49 days. There's $1,000 for fuel in my car. I spend about 50 to 100 per week. I've been using it a fair bit more recently, obviously. So if we say about 70 a week, then that's, I think, 500 for 49 days. Apart from that, to invest in the car itself, I've already put a deposit down on a set of heavy-duty roof racks for it. They're being built in Australia, and they're made of steel, and they've got really good mounting points, and they're not going to fall apart while I'm driving down the freeway. So it's $1,500 right there, but I don't want to skimp out and get something that's just going to leave me stuck on the side of the road or be a danger to others on the road around me. So that's a heavy-duty flat deck, and after I have that, I'll be able to install a rooftop tent. I want a high-quality Dune one. There's the one with the hard top, which costs like $4,000 or $5,000, which I'm not interested in. I want I think it's canvas or some strong material, and you can get them secondhand for about $800 to $1,000. So I think brand new they're $1,000. So there's not much savings to go secondhand anyway. And that will allow me to just have a packed down tent on the roof. And when I want to sleep, it just unfolds. You jump in and sleep, and that allows me, instead of sleeping in the back and having to rearrange all my items every time I want to set up my bed and go to sleep, I can just have items in the back stored, and when I want to sleep, just jump on the roof, basically, in the tent. I've spoken to someone who uses one and highly recommends them. So, and also about the roof racks, they were recommended to me as something that would be ideal for my situation. So that's with the roof racks and the tent. That's $2,500. Beyond that, I've got solar and inverters and charge controllers and whatnot, but the deep cycle battery that I bought a couple of years ago, I haven't been using it, and it's discharged to around 6 volts, and it's not happily accepting charge anymore, so I think that's cactus. To get a replacement one of those for like 150 amp hour deep cycle 12 volt battery is going to run me about $500, which is a pretty good price really, considering previous years how much they've cost. The costs have come down quite a lot, and with that I'll be able to piece together enough things to generate power with solar and also charge from my car, and be able to basically have my studio gear in the back. I just pull up somewhere to camp and unpack my studio gear, write music all day using power from the sun. It's a pretty ideal concept, and I'm looking forward to putting that into action. And beyond that, $500 towards fridge to, for my food, obviously. I do have a cooler, but a fridge is going to be for long term something that's going to be pretty much essential. I can get one brand new for $300, and then $200 beyond that is just for wiring and terminals and connections and setting it all up and so on and so forth, including with the solar. And I might put up a few pictures of the panels and the inverters and charge controllers and whatnot that I already have acquired. And some pictures of my car. So I've covered the car, I've covered food and fuel for 49 days. I still think that if I had until June, I think I'd be able to finish this album, provided I can keep going and just be doing my own thing, not working for someone who's going to basically, expect me to be okay with being in an abusive relationship just to survive, you know what I mean? So that brings us up to a 5K subtotal, and then there's a bonus round. So basically it's for non-essentials, but for things that would really help me out. Just a couple of upgrades for my studio, like a new audio interface, which is about $300. The one I'm running is working, but because I've been traveling and on the road, there's an issue with just how much of a beating it can take and still be reliable. And I'd prefer to have a backup, to have the home studio set up at home somewhere as a base, and to have the mobile studio set up as a separate thing on its own. So there's always a backup studio ready to go if something happens to a piece of gear while I'm on the road. Subwoofer 650, so the interface 300, 650 for the sub. That's about $1,000 total. I'm riding with 8-inch monitors, and they are good, but the frequency does not go down far enough, especially for the sort of music that I write. And having a sub without, being in nature, riding with a sub, the only reason I haven't got one so far is because I haven't got bass traps in my room, and it would be detrimental for the sound quality in terms of using it as a reference to write music. So if I'm outdoors, that solves all those problems for me, and it would be a much more enjoyable process to write as well. So that brings us to 6K, and then an extra K for just anything that I've forgotten, and that there's a lot to. It's a big adjustment for me, and there's a lot to consider, such as shelter for when it's raining. Good quality tent pegs, ropes, tow straps, stoves, curtains for the car, tables and desks. Just basic living items which are household items can't be swapped in for that sort of thing. And it's not going to translate, like all my shelves and my big fridge and everything. I can't continue to use those, but yeah, there's a lot of little extras that just add up along the way, and it's what good is it having a shelter if you don't have high quality ropes and pegs to keep it from blowing down the street, sort of thing. So yeah, 7K. 7 is my number. It's I love it. It's my lucky number, and in numerology, it's what I add up to. So I figured 7K was a good target, and changed it up to 7,770 simply to account for transaction fees and GoFundMe fees that are involved with this process. If it hits 7, would not actually get 7, sort of thing. Actually, well, I don't know. Yeah, this is the first time I've done this, so I'm learning as I go. But in any case, that's the breakdown of the expenses and my reasoning for them. If you are on board with that idea and want to support me, any help would be greatly appreciated. And don't do it out of any sense of obligation or pity or sympathy or anything like that. I've got a lot of options that I'm working on, and I'm arranging another source of income, like a more permanent source of income. This is just a one-off thing, basically to test out my mindset of being valuable and having something to contribute to the world, and recognizing the fact that I pour so much of my time and energy into this, and it's not insignificant, yeah, so I think the above and beyond, so if we got over 7K to 7,770, I think I'd use that extra money to do a limited edition run of like 100 physical CDs with covers and everything. And I did that for my very first album that I made, and I really enjoyed the challenge of it and the process and being able to give someone a physical thing. And I know hardly anyone even has CD players or CD drives in their computers anymore, but just as like a token of something that's kind of special. Like if I go out to gigs now, I still do buy CDs, and I still do enjoy that whole side of things, and especially just the artwork, and just like there's something about it, it's cool. You know what I mean? If you give people a link to your music, they forget about it. If you give them a card, they lose it. And if you give them a CD, it's kind of like they can just chuck it in their car on the way home, sort of thing. Yeah. So, yeah, that's about it for the expenses and for my reasoning for asking the amount that I'm asking for. Basically, I'll move on to the questions. Some of these questions I've been asked by people just talking about things, and yeah, I might do some screen shares just to give you some understanding. The podcast and studio rates, I haven't loaded them up yet, but basically, yeah, I'm leaving the podcast aside for now because I've realized I won't be able to edit videos without my desktop on the road, so I may have to take another break from that, but I also may be able to do some video editing just with friends or family, sort of thing. I'm sure I'll figure out a way to make that happen. So yeah, I mean, my main focus is on the music and getting this album finished. If I was to go in to do a recording session to record an EP at a studio, that would set me back $2,200 to go to a local place, and that's with them doing a lot of sound engineering and recording and whatnot. I know it's a lot different for for producers that just work out of their studio or home bedroom sort of thing. But there are costs involved, and without doing it yourself, they're quite large ones that I never would have been able to do to begin with. So yeah. Okay, questions and answers. Firstly, how much did your last album cost to produce? This is a really good question from a mate of mine, and I had to think about it, and I ran through the previous lists of expenses, rent, food bills and whatnot, and started adding that up, and then I was like, well, what's the main thing that I put into my music? And it's like, well, that's my experience, my inspiration, basically my everything. And my experience is literally priceless. So I view my music the same way. It's priceless, and I've always given it away for free, and at least up until this point. I feel like for creative people, once you've created something and released it, it's not yours anymore. It's the world's. It's out there, and it doesn't belong to you anymore. It's kind of it's being handed over, sort of thing. But to put a dollar sign on it, thousands and thousands. Yeah, I wasn't counting, so I had to think about it. Will I receive something in return if I make a donation? This is a good question, and the answer is yes. You'll have access to the album absolutely for free in high quality as soon as it's ready for release. You'll probably have the first access to it out of everyone in the world. Whether you're into that sort of music or not is another question. But I can say for myself, I really love how it's turning out so far, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the finished result. Plus, I think, I don't know, for me personally, I like to help people where I can, and it does give you a nice sense of, it's a good feeling to help someone, especially someone who's going to appreciate the help and make really good use of it. There's something nice about that. So yeah, the gift of giving. This is one that my mum would probably ask me. Are you putting all your eggs into one basket with this fundraiser? And the answer is no. I've got other options. Applying for the carer payment to look after my father. It's pretty much just a matter of going through the process, but I mean, it can take 6 weeks plus for them, even if I'm approved, for the payment to start coming in. So that's one option. I've got other options for work. There's many things that I could do for an income, and I'm simultaneously focusing on all of them. This is just one path of that. The starving artist stereotype, is this still relevant in modern times when, I mean, ordinary people are struggling with inflation and, a lack of wage rises to compensate? It's tough times in general, I think, at the moment, and I think the starving artist is not how I view myself, and it's not really an abundance mindset, which I'm working on adopting at this point in time. So no, I'm not starving, and I don't see myself of being at risk of starving for the sake of my artwork. How long does it take to write a track? It takes me 3 full days, doing about 8 to 10 hours a day, and it does require breaks in between to refresh your ears and to come back with a fresh perspective. So basically, short answer 3 days, long answer about a week if you include the breaks and coming back and doing other things and not being just letting it completely take over your life sort of thing. Although it does help to be a little bit obsessed with it until it's completely come through. But beyond that, you've got mix and master and little edits and little adjustments, fine tuning, which takes a lot of time. I'm somewhat of a perfectionist, but at the same time, I like to complete tracks and move on. And I find that really helps me a lot to just, if I have more ideas of things I want to do, to just do it in the next track sort of thing. So in the past, I've written an album. It tends to come out all in one go, and it's generally anywhere from 6 weeks to 2 months. And to get 7 or 8, anywhere up to 10 tracks, but I'm usually around 7 or 8 tracks and roughly an hour worth of material or music. It's not really material, is it? It's just vibrations in the air, right? Next question. Don't you make an income, or could you make an income from your YouTube channel? The answer is, do I make an income from it? No. Was that my intention with the channel from the beginning? No. Could I make an income from it? I guess so. I'm interested in doing that. Not at this point. Most people have a very limited understanding of the way YouTube works, but basically you can, after you hit 1,000 subs, you can apply to go into a partnership program and let them run whatever advertising they want on your videos, and you don't get a choice in what kind of ads they are, as far as I'm aware. And I, for one, am not a fan of advertising in YouTube, and I wouldn't want to inflict that on anyone that watches my channel. So yeah, on those grounds alone, I'm not going to run ads and generate income that way. I may do a Patreon at some point in the future, but only if I feel like I'm contributing something worthwhile and valuable to people's lives that I've created myself. So, short answer, do I get money from YouTube? No. Will I get money from YouTube in the near future? No. Next question. Is this a loan? Is this going to be paid back? The short answer is no. It's not a loan. It's a donation. It's just a gift. Yeah. I won't be going into debt. I'm debt free, and I'm aiming to keep it that way. Next question. What happens if the target amount is not reached? This is something that I'm not sure about because I haven't done this before, but I would guess that it would fail and the money would be returned to the donors. Really not sure. In my mind, it's not even something that I'm considering at this point. The main thing is just for me to put in the effort to do what I can and let it, whatever happens, happens. So I will find out about that and update the text description once I know more details. But yeah, short answer, I don't know. So what causes have I donated to in the past? So if we run through, I'll just switch over my screens. I've got a little list here. These are just examples of things that have been important to me and that I've donated to. First off is Erowid. For those who don't know, it's a website which people can share their experiences with various substances. And if you search up Kayesem, you'll actually find some trip reports from me that have been uploaded there and published. So that's sort of a contribution, but also I've donated financially, and they run an annual fundraiser sort of thing, and you can put in a certain amount and they'll send you something cool. You may have noticed me in a previous podcast wearing this hoodie. And yeah, that's Erowid. Beyond that, there's also MAPS, the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies, which is a bit of a mouthful. You can at any time just jump on the website and order things and it goes towards the cause. I think I had a t-shirt and I just wore it into the ground. It absolutely fell apart, but there's yeah, I think there's some. I'm not a fan of all the merch, but like this hoodie's not bad. I like that. It could do with something on the back, but anyway, I'm not here to critique the merch. I'm here to say that I've supported them in the past, and also the Zendo project, which I don't have any. Oh, actually, I do. So Zendo is a psychedelic peer support. And they run at events like Burning Man, and just people that are having a difficult time or a difficult experience on whatever substances they may be on can just come to this safe sort of space, and like have people just be there and sit with them and help them just get through whatever it is. So I think that's a really cool project, and yeah, just a wonderful thing to, like, it's bad enough to have a bad trip, but then to not have anyone know how to handle it around you, it can make it even worse. But yeah, these people have training, and I trust that they're very good at what they do. In terms of GoFundMe's, I donated to Kai Wingo. Her family. Basically, Kai was a really cool chick that was cultivating edible mushrooms and selling them at markets, and wonderful being. I'd only just really started to learn about what she was doing, and then she passed away from on like day 37 of a 40-day fast sort of thing. So yeah, it's just basically they ran a fundraiser to help with her funeral expenses, just for her family. So they were trying to get $4,000, and they raised $9,500. And you can see Baytree, that's me. I chucked in $7. I was probably very financially tight at the time, but I did what I could. It's just like a little token sort of thing. That's Kai there. She's a beautiful, beautiful being. Rest her soul. Another GoFundMe was Kat Harrison. Some of you may know her as Terence McKenna's wife for a short time there. Well, for many years there, actually. It's a pretty rough story that what happened to her. I won't go into it, but basically she had a home invasion by someone, on a copious amount of substances that basically just broke into her home, smashed it up, and then started to strangle her. And luckily the neighbours heard her screaming and came to her rescue, and the man ended up going to prison for attempted murder. So Kat was very shaken up, obviously, and struggling with keeping her business going and being able to maintain everything that she'd built up and was doing for work. So there was a whole lot of donors. So many people jumped in to help her, and that they wanted to buy her some time to just rest and recover and to do some writing. The goal was $75,000, and $99,000 was raised for her. And so far as we know, she's doing very well, and she is making a recovery as best she can. Beyond that, ectoplasm. This is where I've released my music in the past, and this is the blue hoodie that I'm wearing now. I've got a few other t-shirts as well. You can just buy some random clothes to support the website. But basically, this website is run by just one dude, Alexander, and it's a global free electronic music distribution platform. So if you search up Kayesem, it comes up with my albums on there. These three. So you've got 2012, 2013 and 2015. And if you just have a quick look at the download counts, you've got 7,000, 4,400 and 5,700. So yeah, it's up around 15,000 downloads worldwide. Completely free, and I'm happy that my music is out there and being appreciated in the community. To give you some idea of the feedback I've got from the previous one, there's only 5 comments here, but I'll go through them. One says nice, one says oh my god, that first track Zelda remix is godlike. One says good stuff. Another one says I think it's misleading to classify this album as down-tempo progressive. At least 5 of the tracks of this album are in the IDM genre, and at least one I think is pretty much techno. So when somebody is looking for down-tempo or progressive, they may be dissatisfied hearing this. However, within the genre of IDM, this is a high-quality music in my opinion. I play it right next to the future sound of London, and I don't feel a particular change in quality. So please give some respect to this album and to the artist, reclassify it into a different category. And then the last one here, this is a pretty unique sound and difficult to classify. Definitely quite a bit of techno going on here, should add that tag for sure. Beautiful synth harps and leads with an 8-bit or vintage electro brightness. Generally playful, free-form approach to composing, which I find very refreshing. A lot of sappy, bland slide-dub on this site, and this isn't it. A real treat for nerds and lovers of multi-genre work. So, yeah, that gives you some idea of the causes that I've contributed to in the past. It's very much to do with my interests heavily, obviously, and I'm not super financially well off, but every now and then I like to just chuck in and help a good cause where I can. So, you know what I mean? I do put my money where my mouth is when it comes to the crunch. Well, yeah, before we move on, I've also got this YouTube channel, and it's just worth noticing that I also do contribute to the homeless when I come across them on the street, and I uploaded this girl Samantha's story to my channel because she requested me to do so and gave me permission. And yeah, it's not just about giving them money. I sit down and give them a lot of my time and talk to them about their life and what they've been through and so on and so forth. And I feel a really good connection with them most of the time. Other stuff on my channel that's meaningful to me that I didn't necessarily create is this Duncan's Mum Part 2 podcast. It's hard to find it online, which is why I put it up on YouTube to help people find it more easily. And I still get comments like this one from 3 days ago, which says, my beautiful wife passed away unexpectedly 2 weeks ago. I'm forever grateful that this found me when it did. Thank you for sharing this with the world. So comments like that are really just beautiful, and I've been receiving them on a regular basis ever since editing and putting that video up. Yeah, it's for my channel, for YouTube, I just do whatever I'm interested in. I have some of my own stuff, but it's not the main focus. The main focus is just what I happen to be interested in at the time. And yeah, on those grounds, it's like you get what I'm saying. It's just like a hobby sort of thing. It's just something I do for fun, right? I don't really take it seriously or view it as a viable source of income in terms of my own creative work at this point. Next question. How come you could afford rent before but not now? Not so much. Well, like I said, I had 2 housemates and we were sharing the load, and without them around anymore, it's it's pretty much all over. They were very special people, and I just can't settle for anything less in terms of housemates and being able to live with people and get along, sort of thing. We need to share deep core values, which are very rare and hard to find in the general populace. So it's just an easier option to step aside and let someone else move into this place. It's been really wonderful. I've been here for a couple of years and definitely appreciate having the stability and the opportunity to finally get around to working on music in between everything else, that gets in the way. Next question: are you begging like a hobo? Simple answer is no. I'm just asking. This is not a last resort for me. This is actually my first resort. My first port of call when I'm seeking assistance is my friends and family. I'm not just running straight to the government. I'm not running to abusive employers. I'm asking the people that I love and care about the most, and who love and care about me the most. It would be really cool if you can contribute and help me through this transitional period, because I feel like I've got a lot to contribute to the world, and it would just be super appreciated right now. And it's a one-off thing. I'm not gonna keep hassling you for money. It's just like, I want to finish this album. It's very important to me, and that's basically why I'm doing this. And the album's not for me, it's like, it'll help me and it'll be nice, but it's for everyone. It's for the world once it's done, and I'm looking forward to releasing it. Come hell or high water, I'll figure out a way to get it done. Oh yeah, music at the end with my podcast. We're running up close to an hour now, so this has basically been like, I don't know, a podcast level in-depth conversation, but just me, so it's a bit trickier because I find it easier to bounce back and forth between people, but it's just me asking for this fundraiser, so it might as well just be me here in this video, right? Don't want to make things too complicated. But speaking of the podcast, I do enjoy putting music at the end, and so in along those lines of that tradition, I'd like to include a piece of music at the end of this video to give you an example of something that's an idea for the future, which I would like to work on once I've found some level of stability in this new way of life that I'm transitioning into at the moment, which is that with my podcast, I'm up to episode 7, and once I get up to episode 10, I want to basically write and release a dedicated album called based on the Friends in High Places 2.0, based on the series of episodes and all my guests. And so the idea is I'll be writing one track and sampling one guest into each track, and just doing a track per episode for each episode. If you're interested to hear what I can do, and some recent new music that hasn't been released yet, this next track coming up is an example of that. It's I've written it and sampled one of my guests' links into the track itself, and that's just my way of honouring him as a guest, and also honouring the knowledge and wisdom and insight that he has to share, and in just a unique and sort of fun way for me. So yeah, if you're interested in that, stick around and have a listen. If not, thank you for listening to me just bang on about the exact same thing for like an hour straight. I'm pretty sure I've covered everything that I wanted to go into, and for the sake of just keeping it as concise as possible, I'll leave it there. But thank you if you've listened for this whole thing. If you've watched this far and you've come this far, then you're just for that alone, just for hearing me out, I just want to extend my deepest thanks and gratitude. It really does mean a lot to me, and like I said, it's an adjustment for me to have the level of self-worth and self-value to actually feel like I'm worthy in some sense of receiving gifts. It sounds stupid when you say it out loud, but it's been an old mindset and a tough one to attempt to update and upgrade. But I'm working on it, and this is part of the process. So thank you for sharing that with me and this whole thing. And if you do decide to make a contribution, also just thank you in advance, and we'll see how it goes. It'll either fly or it won't, and I guess just wish me luck, and we'll see. I'm really interested and curious to see what happens, and it has been not easy for me to reach this point, but at the same time, I'll never know unless I try. So yeah, I'm giving it my best, and like, here goes everything, and we'll see. But no matter what happens, I want to finish this album, and I'm gonna make it happen no matter what. So for those of you who are just in it for the music, don't stress. It will happen, and I'm gonna make sure of that. So yeah, much love and peace to you all. Yeah, many blessings. I hope you enjoy. Hope you enjoy this little piece of music that I wrote. I really love it, and I'm looking forward to getting it out on a dedicated release at some point in the future. So yeah, thank you, and yeah, I'll leave it at that.
So, and I feel that's, at least that is my experience with the more shamanic work, that it's an inherent understanding of an inner energetic language, basically. That it's an inherent understanding of an inner energetic language.